Everything you see outside of you is a reflection back of what it is that you are projecting. So it is a reflection of your inner life state, which is why two people can sit and look at exactly the same thing and see something totally opposite.
Yes.
Because it is reflecting back to them their current life state.
Yes.
Some see difficulty, hardship, struggle, negativity, lying, cheating, thieving, whatever, and others see happiness, goodness, goodwill, joy, bliss.
And that's based on the interpretation that we create ourselves from the story we tell ourselves, right? From all the belief system and all that as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Whether we like this or not.
Right. So some of you listeners may already know, actually, if you follow some of my work, that everything's an illusion. Thoughts and feelings, everything that we see outside is an illusion. We're not really seeing what we are really seeing. But what I'm always fascinated about is understand the science behind it. So, and this is exactly why I am here with Professor here, to get the scientific understanding of the work that we've been talking about, you know, everything that you listen and hear about in the personal development world and also in the spiritual industry. We got to have some sort of scientific understanding. So Professor here, I believe, is a really great. Thank you for your time, first of all, Professor. Thank you very much for allowing me to interview you. And so we've got a couple of questions here for Professor Pavlidis, and that is, so you are the founder of Sci-Art-Met, and that is Sci-Art-Met, as you can see below on the video. And as from my understanding, it represents science, art, and metaphysics. Am I correct? So what gave birth to this platform, and what is it? And how did you come about with it, and what's the purpose of this platform?
I suppose when I was very young, I had three main, whatever you want to call them, inspirations in the form of human beings. And the first one actually was Bruce Lee. So I wanted to be like him.
Okay.
And I was a kid, and I was a bit of a nut. I was training 6 hours a day, and I was working, and I said, well, if he can do one arm push-ups on 2 fingers, so can I, and if he can do this, so can I. So I worked. I was 11, 12 years of age, I worked. My second great inspiration was Leonardo da Vinci. Oh. And I saw in Leonardo a being who brought clearly science, because he was a great engineer and understood science very, very well, a great artist,
yes.
And he certainly understood the metaphysical. And by that I mean the dimensions and the realm beyond matter. And he was a rather mystical type of person as well, probably because if he was too open about what he saw and what he had prophesied, snakes on rails and birds, steel birds that would fly, and helicopters and whatever. If it wasn't for the Medicis and the likes of people who were sponsors, I think maybe he would have been under the fate of Galileo. But he was very much in demand, and what he was able to develop was something extraordinary because of his abilities to see things through the inner scientist, which is what I call the inquirer. To inquire when, where, how, when, where, why, and because of what. And these questions are there in all of us when we're young. It depends totally on how well those particular aspects within us get guided and how they transfer into daily life matter, daily life matters, and daily life happenings and daily life implementation. The inner scientist is about the inquirer, looking at how come things are the way they are. The inner artist, therefore, is about the inner creativity and the spontaneity and being inspired by things outside of us, whether they be items of nature or people speaking or something along the lines of basically getting a download. So it's a creative response to stimuli from an external source. And the metaphysical is looking what is beyond the physical, quite simply. And what is consciousness? How do things work on those planes outside of the paradigm and the models of matter? And this is what helps us to then create a platform that links, I would say, the reality of consciousness and matter.
Right.
And what I see in life is that we have three main domains in life. There is religion, there is agnosticism, and there is what I call the wisdom traditions. Agnosticism is about the inquiries, the questioning, the philosophies and the sciences and so forth. So they are asking the how, when, where, why, etc. The religions act as a social platform to help act as a binding force. It gives us a sense of security, stability, a foundation, a structure, something to follow based on belief. The wisdom traditions represent the metaphysical, the consciousness element, right, as it were, in search of. And the art for me is how to blend all three.
Right.
So one gives us foundation of daily life activities, so it takes care of food, shelter, support, a sense of camaraderie and a sense of familiarity and identity, based on therefore giving us a sense of a collegiate, literally a linking, a binding force. And
so
then
just for the audience's sake, some may not know. So wisdom tradition, I'm assuming being the traditional way of where masters teach people, right? The actual wisdoms that have been passed down from ancient time.
yes, all spiritual practices
Yes.
have their root in wisdom tradition. So
Yes.
all religions are based on wisdom tradition.
Yes.
And they deal with something beyond the physical.
Right.
They're not that busy with or interested in matter.
Right.
And so the sciences are looking at matter and saying, how does matter help us to understand our daily life activities? And religion needs both.
Right.
Because the sciences give rise to technology, and technology has given us a lot of expediency and has a lot of facility, basically.
Yes.
Look at the daily life that we are encountering now. Without electricity and without magnetism, just basically take yourself off the grid and see what's there.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have any of your devices because there's nothing to actually power the batteries. You wouldn't have any of the facility and the expediency that exists there. So you're back to basics.
Yes.
You know, candles for candlelight and
Yes.
fires for burning and so forth. So this is how I see this triangle. And the important part here is that this new development, what people call the New Age, from my perspective, has arisen out of looking at religion being a little bit too dogmatic and confrontational. I would say that the sciences are too challenging, because they are quite, they certainly challenge a person asking direct questions about proof and validation and so forth.
Yes.
And the wisdom traditions are simply too much hard work. So I don't want to
takes
spend
a lot of work.
10 years
Yes.
just to learn how to meditate. I want to do it in a weekend, and if I can do it on my iPhone through an app, all the better. So this is where people's minds are today.
Yes.
And especially if the app is downloaded for free and I don't have to pay for it. So we have a very different mindset today.
Yes, yes.
And so as a result of those three, we've got people who are in this camp that have created their own perspective of life. And I would say that, I know that probably about 50, 60 years ago, the term New Age was coined by Edgar Cayce. And he was not a space cadet, I can tell you that much. He really knew his stuff very well. He was quite a prophet, very scientific, and quite a philosopher. But people can take terminologies and then they start utilizing them in their own, coining the term and utilizing in their own contexts to try to progress a certain concept and idea.
Sure.
Yeah.